Hi, everyone, and welcome to a new Sona webinar. Today, we'll be joined by Found by Lottie and Yorkshire Care Group. I just wanted to say, everyone in the chat, thank you for joining us. And we'll be doing a quick housekeeping, and then I'll let our lovely host, Haley, take it over from here. So, for those joining us for the first time, we are Sona, next generation workforce management software built specifically for social care. And our mission is to build technology that makes a genuine difference in the lives of frontline staff everywhere. We work with customers like Yorkshire Care Group, United Response, Kishmo, Community Integrated Care, Cartography, and more. Now, to just get everyone on the same page, as mentioned, the chat function is available for everyone. So please use it, ask us questions, interact with each other, interact with our lovely guest speakers. We will be there watching. If you have any questions, we'd love to answer it. We obviously encourage everyone to comment and ask questions, and we'll also be posting a poll midway through the webinar, so do answer. It's just a quick question and it helps us guide the conversation. This webinar is going to be recorded, so no worries about that. We'll be sending it to everyone afterwards. And I have to add, boring bit, but all views expressed today in the webinar and the presentation reflect only the speaker's view and not those of the wider views of their employer or organization. So with that out of the way, I'll let Haley take it from here.
Thank you, Christina. So professional.
Practice.
Hi, everyone. We're going to go into some introductions first of all before we kick this off. But whilst we're doing that, what I'd like to all know is the main question. What did you all buy for lunch with your vouchers, courtesy of Sona? If you want to pop that in the chat, we'll see what's the best result. But I'm Haley. They refer to me as the social care expert, which is a politer way, a nicer way of calling me old, I think. I've been in the industry now for coming up to 20 years, and I've been working for the Sona team for just over a year. I work in the commercial team. So nice to meet you all. Hopefully you find this webinar beneficial. We're joined here today, sounds like I'm in a wedding, by Tom and Nick. Thank you both for coming. Tom, do you want to just give a super high level overview and, sorry, my internet just went bad timing. Tom, if you could just introduce yourself, please.
Yeah, of course. Well, firstly, thank you so much, Sona, for setting this up, and also to everyone for joining. My name's Tom. I'm head of commercial at Found by Lottie. Found is a cloud-based software. It offers CRM, occupancy management, billing, and has been built with I suppose, the unique needs of the care sector in mind. We're part of an umbrella group called Lottie, which some people may have heard of. Lottie is the fastest growing digital marketplace, so we aim to connect care seekers with care providers. And yeah, really excited to discuss this topic. I think it's a really important topic, and looking forward to some questions coming through on the chat as well.
Thanks, Tom. And I should mention, originally Chris was going to do this webinar, but unfortunately he's feeling a little under weather. So we've got his counterpart, but I'm sure you'll do a great job, Tom. Thank you for joining.
I'll try my best.
And over to you, Nick. If you could just give a high level overview of who you are and what you currently do.
Okay, well, yeah, thanks for the opportunity. I'm Deputy Chief Executive of the Yorkshire Care Group. We have care homes, we have learning disability, respite, so we're kind of a full service in dom care. So we've been going for 12 years. Latterly, the group's been established for 2. And the job is really to continue to grow the group, and we need that through technical digital innovation. So that's really why I'm here to help support.
Thanks, Nick. Appreciate that. Sorry, guys, my internet seems to be a bit flaky, which isn't great. So we'll see how we go. So we're super excited today to be talking about a content piece both Sona and Lottie did over the last couple of months, actually, on how to invest, when should you invest in social care solutions and platforms that ideally pay for themselves. So I'm just going to start off by saying this isn't a webinar around Sona and the product and the platform here, or what Lottie can and can't do. We're talking about the benefits, okay, the realization benefits, also return of investments from these social care solutions, and hopefully you can take some benefits away from that as well. Hence why we've got Nick here today as well. So rather than us both, Tom and myself, talking about our products and who we work for, Nick is really going to go into the digital transformation piece and what he's gone through over the last couple of years as well. So for those that you haven't seen, Christina hopefully will share in the chat. There will be a link. If you haven't had a read, go away and have a look at it after this webinar. But Lottie and Sona put together a content piece, about 4 or 5 pages, about social care solutions and the return of investment. So there's some really good key findings in there. Things like how you can break even after 3 months of implementing either Sona or CRM or Found by Lottie. So that link will be posted in this chat later on, and by all means go away and take a look at that as well. Thanks, Christina. So what we're going to do is start off, if it's okay, with a question for you, Nick. What I'd like you to do is just give the audience a bit of an overview and high-level overview of where you're currently at within Yorkshire Care Group and your digital transformation piece that you've been underway.
Okay, well, thanks very much. Well, we looked at all our processes about 2 years ago and decided that we needed to improve efficiency and also potentially save some costs. So we first looked at the care-related side. So we looked at digital records, we looked at Nourish and associated areas for the care to make sure that care was being delivered and received the best way. And we are an outstanding provider, so we had something to live up to. We then looked at the biggest cost of our business, and in any social care it is resource. And we looked at what the implications were of our current rota system and found that it wasn't working well. So, having decided that we needed to change that, we basically looked at all the current leaders for rota-based software out there. And about a year ago, we selected Sona as being the preferred choice. So we have seen a dramatic difference in the year, although it took us 6 months to implement. So that's something that we'll talk about later. But certainly since its implementation, it's improved the efficiency, it's improved the culture, it's improved the retention. So it wins all the way around. And now we're actually moving on to the other processes in terms of more efficiency, such as CRM systems, such as Lottie and Found we'll talk about. So we see it as a journey rather than a completion. So, and once we've done the journey, we'll revisit it from the beginning and go back to those first few care digital systems and look at if they're still fit for purpose. So we've had a great 2-year transition, but it has brought many cost benefits, but also other benefits to the organization.
Thanks, Nick. So you mentioned some benefits there. What was the motive behind it? So, a year, 24 months ago, you must have got around the table with yourself and the rest of the board and thought, right, we need to really change things up. Like, what was the motive for you to kind of go down this route? Was it the fact that you wanted return of investment and it was just the financials, or was it because of some of those things that you mentioned, like the efficiencies, the retention, the recruitment, quality of care, etc.?
The primary one was culture and staff telling us what we had wasn't working. And we know that post-COVID flexibility of work, being able to take the shifts they wanted to take when they wanted to take them, was critical. Also planning, in the sense that our previous rota system only had a week to 10 days out rather than being able to plan. So we weren't giving our staff the flexibility they needed. And quite honestly, they were telling us that. And it resulted in us having missed shifts, which obviously is lost income. It resulted in absenteeism and sickness increasing because they wanted to take the time off and we hadn't rotated them in. So that was the main motive. We needed to improve the culture of the staff. The benefit came in terms of cost once we started looking into it, how efficient the systems were. And we received some short-term cost benefits, but actually the longer-term cost benefits keep coming. We're looking at, and we had conversations just recently about the amount of time it takes to do the rotas now is minimal compared to, we were talking hours, now we're talking in single-digit hours. So the staff are much more efficient, the managers are better. So it's actually still continuing to give as we go through that digital transformation.
Amazing. So that's helping with the retention piece. Does it help with the recruitment side of things, knowing that you've got like the next generation solutions in place in Yorkshire Care Group when you're recruiting, is that
Probably not necessarily in recruitment. We don't, but in induction, definitely. We now build the rota planning as part of our 3-day induction, and so that everyone is clear once they leave the training centre, just how to operate, where the shifts are going to come from, how they operate. We had a period where there had to be a lot of coaching going on post-induction, where people ask the questions, well, when's my shift coming? When am I on? What do I do? How long is the shift?
Yeah.
All that is now taken care of, because immediately they leave the induction, their shift rota's out there, they elect to do the bits they want to do. And it's helped in terms of overtime, which is one of the key areas. So they can choose shifts that suit their lifestyle rather than be told ideally that they would be required to do shifts just to cover overtime. So personal choice has increased tremendously.
Amazing. And that overtime then, if that's improved, where you're using your staff to cover the overtime shift, I'm guessing that means a reduction in agency if you use agency previously?
Yes, very much so. I mean, we can now manage it. We set a target for the percentage on Sona of what agency percentage we want and what overtime we want, and how many people we're prepared to let work above the 40 hours or the 60 hours. So the data gives us weekly and daily exactly where we are performing within those metrics. And if we go over, we can identify it and we can correct it. And whilst staff may like to do 80 hours a week consecutively with 50 hours, it's not good for their welfare and it's not good for our business. So we give them the options to work within their life balance.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks, Nick. And one final one on that one from me. We've spoken about like the cost element, the return of investment, the staff, the engagement. That was your main priority. But you also mentioned missed visits, or previously you were having missed visits, therefore quality care was reducing, and like you say, you weren't able to recognise that income. Has that supported with this process for you? With the missed visits have they been reduced? Therefore, you've got a better quality of care for your customers?
They've been eliminated over the last 6 months. The first 2 months, there was a couple of teething problems, which was the back end of 23. But since 24, we haven't missed any calls, and therefore we have, we're abiding by our contracts effectively, and we are as a business much happier than that.
Amazing, thank you. Okay, so I suppose over to you now, Tom, if that's okay. So from a CRM Lottie perspective, how do you think Lottie's CRM or Found system, whichever you want to refer to, or both, can support with an organisation and their return of investment through purchasing the Lottie platform?
Yeah, great question. I also think just before going into ROI, I loved what Nick said around, the investment in social care solutions is a journey. It's a journey rather than completion. And I think each group, each home will take a different amount of time over that journey and choose a different route on that journey. I think in talking about specifically CRM and when you can win the cost back from CRM and return on investment, I think it can be broken down probably into 3 key areas. I think the initial one, and probably the most obvious, is the cost of missed inquiries. So Nick mentioned, missed visits being eliminated. I think through a powerful CRM, you can have the same impact on the cost of missed inquiries. We actually did some research on the Lottie side. It was about a year ago now, and it showed us that for those partners of ours that didn't have CRM, up to 65% of inquiries that were coming through were being missed. A large portion of these were inquiries that came through over the weekend. Lower staffing and an increase in inquiries will lead to a higher number of inquiries being missed. With a good CRM, I think, and through automation, like with what Nick was saying around visits, you can move that from 65% missed to 100% being responded to almost instantly. And I think when we're talking about ROI, the cost of a missed inquiry, if that inquiry were to move to a move-in, can obviously be huge for any care group. I think the second one is inquiries that don't convert. So the ideal with a CRM is that it not only allows you to respond to inquiries, but also improves, I suppose, the quality at which you move that inquiry from initial contact through to becoming a resident. Again, what we've seen through Found, and I'm sure this is the same with CRM in general, is that there is a big sizable increase in inquiry conversion. We ran a case study across a number of care groups where we saw an average of 44% increase in inquiry conversion. And again, I suppose when you take that and break it down into the revenue per resident, that becomes a huge driver of that cost return. And I guess the final one is slightly less quantifiable, but is the time save that comes with investing in social care solutions. And I'm sure this sits across solutions like Sona, solutions like Nourish, and Found as well. But there is a huge time save that comes for the frontline team if they are using systems that help to automate or to increase speed of a lot of the processes that they're going through today. So I guess the CRM side, the most obvious is that the logging of inquiries for partners where we've helped them transition, I suppose, from paper-based solutions or spreadsheet-based solutions to a solution like Found where inquiries are logged automatically in many cases. There's a huge time save there, and focus can be shifted to care, which is obviously the primary focus. And I think the use of integration. So I know, Nick, you've mentioned Nourish. Integrations with care planners as well mean that deduplicative work results in time save there as well. So yeah, I would break it down in those three. I think that the time save to me is one of the key ones, and ones that our partners see and report back on as being the most impactful. So although maybe the least quantifiable, I think on a day-to-day has a huge impact on the team and on the culture of the team as well.
Thanks, Tom. And Nick, I know you haven't started on your CRM inquiry journey, but any thoughts about what Tom's just mentioned?
Yeah, very much so. I mean, I think the thing that comes out with digital, any platform, is time. And one of the things that we're short of in social care is time. We don't have enough staff, therefore the staff have to do more. And I think anything that can reduce time, and the CRM system, I think, is definitely one of our next phases. Once we've got the rotas right, we now then can look to developing the business. I think you look at it in three phases in terms of digital. There's developing what you currently have and making it better. And then there's looking to growth and how you develop it or how you acquire or take on more individuals or staff. And I think, we've done the latter. We're now looking at the former. And things like the digital CRM systems will be a definite on our list to go through. But I would suggest anybody on the webinar today, we didn't see it as cost. We didn't enter digitalization as cost. We looked at a short-term investment, because actually the platforms aren't that costly, in fairness to Sona and some of the other areas. The benefit comes quite quickly and it stays for a long time. There is a short-term investment in staff to make things happen, but it is only short-term, and depending on how many people you're allowed to do it. But I think, the outcomes of any digital innovation, and I haven't come across any yet that I would say has not been worthwhile. It's just the mindset going in that says, actually, no, it's not cost. It's a way of investing in the future and investing in changing the business.
And if I was to jump in there as well, I think another aspect, and I'm sure this is a challenge, Nick, on your side as well, there are a lot of solutions out there, and finding those solutions, I suppose, that talk to each other, but not only that, but being really clear on the solutions you are looking for and the outcome you're trying to drive with those solutions. I'm sure everyone on the call is being contacted by tech solutions in the industry constantly, and having choosing the right ones, but also I think choosing those that speak to each other so that it's not a case of overload by solutions is equally as important as the digital transformation itself.
Yeah, 100% agree. Yeah.
Same. And I think there's a quote actually in the content piece that's been pushed out that is something along the lines of like next gen solutions are designed to like complement each other. Yeah, you shouldn't be forced down one route to say, right, here, have all of this, because we know that, we are best in class in workforce management, for instance. Lottie, same for your CRM solutions. If they talk together, we've got partnerships, then yeah, brilliant. Okay, that was super helpful. Thank you, Tom. There was a graph that was popped up at some point. That's one of the graphs around CRM and return of investments. I think it was an illustration based on 1,000 employees. That graph you'll get in the document that was shared earlier on. just quickly on that, Tom, I don't know if you covered it. I don't think you did cover it, sorry. How quickly can your customers see a return of investment if they were to implement the Lottie products, CRM, or even Found?
Yeah, great question. I mean, I think the salesperson in me always likes to say from day one, Lottie CRM or Found by Lottie, we like to think that the soft benefits will be seen from day one. From the moment that either the pilot homes or the group come on board with a CRM, you're already seeing that automated inquiry logging. You're already seeing inquiries being handled instantly, the nudges for the team, the time save for the team. I suppose from a head office point of view, the increased visibility and reporting. What we've seen from the report that we published alongside Sona is that I suppose the break-even point with a CRM on average was about the 3-month mark. And Found CRM with our current partner base broke even after around 3 months, and then beyond the 3-month mark, that ROI only increases, and as this graph shows. So the return is quick, and then once a system like Found and Sona and other tech solutions out there are implemented, and the team are using it well, and the training process has happened, it should only increase from there, which is why I think it's so exciting.
Thanks, Tom. We've got a couple of questions that have come in, so I'm going to read through these before we go back to the agenda as such, if that's okay. Arnon, hi Arnon, hope you're good. He's not sure about the relationship between the CRM solution and Sona or workforce management solution. How do these work together, if at all? Tom, do you want to pick that one up, or I can go if you want?
Happy with either, Hayley.
Go on, you go for it. I talk too much.
Yeah, well, I think the more obvious connection, as you've probably mentioned in your question there, I think there's a follow-up, is the CRM to care planning. Workforce management and Found work together, I suppose, most obviously from a billing point of view. We have a powerful billing engine as part of Found, and I think workforce management, hours, our one-to-one care, etc., feed into that. Where Found is really powerful is in its links, especially with care planning. And I think Nick mentioned that Yorkshire Care Group are a Nourish user. Being able to send inquiry data directly to your care planning solution at the click of a button is hopefully a really big DG of work. I think Found and Sona are currently working on our own integration, which is really exciting and something that we'll definitely be publishing over the coming months. Hayley, I don't know if you want to add to that.
No, it's fine. It's a shame we don't have the tech map, but Arnon, you're completely right. And I think it brings it back to the quote that we said earlier, and that content piece where we say that solutions are designed to complement each other. So it's not just about Sona, and yes, they don't directly feed into each other. There might be the care planning tool selected into it as well. What we will do at the end of this chat is post the tech map that we've put together, and it kind of gives you the tech ecosystem, so you can see that nicely as well. But thank you for your question, very relevant. Rachel, you've given us a couple, which is great. Thank you. So Nick, over to you. Rachel's asked, how were your rotas prepared before? So before you had Sona, what did you use, if at all anything? Was it another solution, spreadsheets for each home?
It was another solutions provider. We changed from spreadsheets about 5 years ago as part of our program. But the software that we were using wasn't adequate to give that flexibility. And I just posted in the notes, we did have 3 full-time staff on rota planning for our 200 employees. We don't have a single staff member now on rota planning. It's all done by the management 1 or 2 hours per day rather than 3 full-time staff. So that was the difference. So in principle, it operated as Sona operates, but Sona has the bells and whistles and the ability to bespoke it slightly to our organization, which is one of the things that took the time to make sure that it was fit for purpose for our learning disability unit, our care home unit, rather than just one fits all scenario, which the previous one was, and you had to modify it behind the digital software rather than with the digital software.
Thanks, Nick. There's another question from Daryl. I can't answer this one, Tom, for you, but I will from Sona's perspective. How much are councils integrated in platforms such as Found or Sona? So, i.e. inquiries directly from council. Have you seen that question, Tom? And if there's anything you'd like to note on that?
Sorry, can you just repeat that question?
do you integrate at the moment with any councils? From
Yeah, it's a great question. So from an inquiry point of view, our CRM integrates with online sources. So all of the marketplaces, Lottie, of course, Autumna, carehome.co.uk, website capture forms, so anything that comes through your website, Facebook adverts, etc. So those online channels that currently are or very often are handled through inboxes or separate solutions will all filter through to Found. With local authorities, with councils, those can also be filtered in through to Found. And not only that, but you can track the success of referrals on a per council or local authority level. So I think one of the areas that our partners find really powerful is being able to understand, who provide the most referrals, where those referrals come from, and doubling down on those relationships. So the answer is yes. And I think what the really powerful aspect is becoming that source of truth, that source of truth for all of those inquiry channels, and I suppose moving from 3-4 solutions or 3-4 sources through to one, which is where Found can really help.
Thanks, Tom. And Daryl, from Sona's perspective, not necessarily integrations as such. We do have open APIs to allow things like that, subject to the techies saying that too, okay? But we do work with councils as well. So councils are using the Sona solution. So if they've got things like in-house or workforce management teams in-house, we're supporting them as well. Hopefully that answers your question. If you've got any further, ping in the chat. So Christina has released a poll. So you should see an icon that says poll. We'd love some of you to fill this out, if not all of you. What is your biggest fear when it comes to rolling out new solutions? We'll give you 5 minutes to run through that. It's literally a submit vote. Click an icon, click on it, and then we'll talk through that in a bit. And whilst you're all having a go at that, Nick, can you talk me through what the timeline was for you with Yorkshire Care Group in terms of your rollout, please?
Okay, well, we made the decision probably in January 23 that we needed to change. We then had a small team do the analysis in the marketplace of what would be the best 3 potential rota systems to have conversations with. That probably took us till March, April. We then met and looked at each of those and then decided around about June that Sona was the one that would be the best for our business. So that was the first phase. So that took us a while. And you can circumvent that if you believe a referral is better or you need to move faster, but that was it. And then we had a period of 3 to 4 months where we had probably the investment where we had 2 people on the Sona project. The first phase was to actually try and get across some of the knowledge from Sona into our operation, because digital technology does come with a blank face in most cases from the people that are trying to look at it. So we needed to get sort of experts internally, if you can call them experts, that understood what it was there. And then once we had that, we could then go into the more bespoking because we could talk with our expertise and their knowledge. So that took us probably 3 months. And then we went into test phase for 2 months. So we ran 2 systems simultaneously to make sure that both systems would work. But during that time, we found Sona champions within our organization, because one of the things, I think we expressed it, fear of change, particularly for social care workers, is great. As we found, some people still use spreadsheets because that's the easiest and they don't like changing. Changing any system involves people having some concerns. What does this mean for me? How can I adapt to it? So we built a team of champions within the organization who really loved the new concept. And therefore we created these bubbles of people who could enthuse about it. And so when we started rolling it out, there were the people who maybe offset the naysayers who said it'll never work here, which you have in any organization. But we built that force going forward. So it was adopted very quickly. And by December, it was fully operational. Everything else was turned off with the alternative. And we've started benefiting since then. So from beginning to end, probably a year. From implementation, probably 4 months.
And how did you ensure, or what did success look like for you, I suppose? We spoke about this yesterday, but what did that mean for Yorkshire Care Group? How did you measure your success?
I suppose in terms of, because our primary goal was staff culture and improvement, was a happiness within the role, but retention we were experiencing, as every social care provider probably does. Up to a third of our staff moving to other companies because they didn't get what they wanted. So our idea was that if we can use it to retain staff, then that's going to be a cost saving. And our retention has gone down now to 18%. And this month we're looking around 12%. So we've made a massive difference. Now it could be other factors, but that's key. So Sona may have been part of that. The other was in terms of what people said about the system. So therefore, what was the talk around in the homes and in our learning disability centres? And everyone became positive. So instead of rotas being a negative, why they put me on that rota, why am I doing that, why am I doing all these shifts, it became a positive. So that was another KPI. And so culturally, we hit those two KPIs. Then obviously cost-wise, we hit, as I put into the chat, we had 3 full-time people, so in excess of 100,000 working on the planning system. We now don't have that. That's absorbed within the organisation. So there's direct cost, which I can look in terms of personnel. And those 3 individuals have been redirected to frontline roles. So actually we've saved a back office position and moved it into the frontline and saved having to recruit 3 more staff to do it. And going forward, it's created an environment of time management, which we didn't experience, because they believed that their job was making sure that the rotas were filled. Their day was consumed with rotas and staff and questions. Now they've got 7-8 hours, if they're on a 12-hour shift, to do other things. So our supervisions have improved. Our training is now up to 92%. It was lagging at 74% for the organisation. So there are all those other benefits that come with effective time management that we didn't know we would get until we actually implemented the system. And that's why I say it keeps on giving. These are just happening as we go along. So we don't know what else the digitalisation will give us. It has identified weaknesses in other digital programs. So we're now going back into the likes of Nourish and saying, we're not actually using this fully. We're only using 20% of it, but we thought we were using it fully. So what are the other things that these other digital platforms can do that will enhance our efficiencies? So it has another benefit.
Amazing. There's that learning curve as well, isn't it? So if you could do anything differently, what would it be? What have you learned that you would go, if you were to go into another organisation now and do something differently, what would that be? Putting you on the spot with that one.
Well, I think the learning probably is not differently this time around. The learning was to set a team up to do the process right in the first place, rather than just buy the software, have a few conversations with software providers, get a bit of training, and then throw it open to the organisation and say, get on with it. And it never works. So we put the effort in, not quite as long as we thought it might take. But I think that's the learning for any digital implementation. Don't assume that just buying the software is the end of the road. That's just the beginning. You then have to make sure that you implement it. And we do have to go back and check. We do have providers who are care workers who lose their phones, so they can't do the shifts. So there's some technology issues with it that we didn't have with paper-based systems that we have to build in. So I would say it's really the journey that we've been on now seems to be a template for all digital implementation.
Amazing. Thanks, Nick. That's super interesting. So the results are in. Thank you for those that completed the poll. Most of you fear frontline staff adoption when thinking about digital solutions. What's your thoughts to that? I'm going to chuck this one to Tom. Do you hear about this much in Lottie? Is this kind of like a common trend when prospects or customers come to you?
Yeah, I think it's not a surprise that is the top answer on the poll. I think there are companies we speak to in the past that have been burnt by that problem. They buy a solution and it's really bought into at that sort of top line level, but once you get down to the homes themselves, adoption isn't where they'd like to get to be. I think this is something that rests on both sides of the equation. and what we find with the most successful adoptions of Found by Lottie is very aligned with what Nick was saying there around, a dedicated team or a project team that's really bought into getting that system up and running and working. I can speak only for Found when I say that we have a quite rigorous onboarding process. We do a pilot run in a number of homes where we'll build up advocacy, we'll find out what works, we'll work alongside the project team and the homes themselves. I think it's really important, and again, Found has been built in a way where it's very simple to use. I think especially in a sector like care, building a solution with the frontline worker in mind, which makes adoption, use, understanding the system as easy as possible is super important. And ultimately, I suppose if you're able to show back both internally, the organization that's bought the solution, but also the supplier, so on the Found side, the Sona side, if you're able to report back on the impact it's having, that can really, really benefit the driving of adoption. So if the team knows that, if we take CRM as the example, if the team knows that conversion has gone from X to Y, that the speed at which they're responding to inquiries has increased, if they feel internally that the time save is there and that the care seeker ultimately is having a better experience when it comes to that inquiry process, we see that have a massive impact on adoption as well. But I think as to Nick's point, a huge part of the success of group adoption of tech comes from those early stages, comes from the team that's put in place to roll out the solution and the steps it takes to engage the user base within the organization as well. And again, like you said, it's I think you used a good phrase, which is buying the software is not the end of the world, the journey, not the end of the world, not the end of the journey, it's the start. And that's definitely true. And it won't necessarily just take one go. You might have to revisit it, whether at certain homes or at a group level as well over time. And I think that's just something that if you know going into it, you're going to have more success come the end of that road.
Yeah. It's never a plug and play, unfortunately, but that's because we all work so differently. Each local authority will stipulate one thing or another. Nick, you've kind of covered this already, but was there anything else you wanted to add to that based on the
I think there's 2 points I can bring out. One is any digital implementation that is directed from above will always come with some fear. Why are they doing it? What are they doing it? What's going to happen to me? And I think that's why it's important to really identify the benefits that the digital system offers to the people who are on the ground, because they're the people who are going to use it. And which, we looked at that from the flexibility point of view. So we weren't introducing a new rota system, we're reducing in a way that they could operate a flexible work plan and have a work-life balance. Suddenly that takes away a lot of the pressures that they're getting rid of me because they're introducing these new systems. Actually, we're doing it for you, not against you. And I think the other area comes back to the organizations. Don't underestimate your workforce. Yes, going back a few years, digital systems were so complex and you needed computers and it's like Microsoft training and you've got to go through all these days. Most of the systems, and certainly the Sona one, is app-based. Everyone uses a smartphone these days. Everyone uses social media. People are savvy more so than we give them credit for. And so sticking an app on their phone, which is like the Facebook app, and just asking them to go into it and touch a few buttons to book their shifts is second nature. So the fear is taken away from that. So if you can look at those two and make sure you build those into your project plan, I think your fear will dissipate quite easily. And in fact, you'll find people saying, fantastic, why didn't we do this earlier?
Amazing. Thanks, Nick. We do have another question I've just spotted from Amy, and it's for you, Tom. She's asked about Found, actually. Is it solely focused on care homes? I don't think you responded in the chat. Sorry if you have. I haven't clicked on it. Have you got an answer for that one? So it says, are you solely focused on care homes, or do you work with dom care providers as well?
Yeah, perfect. Well, thank you for your question, Amy. So no, we're not solely focused on care homes. We are primarily care home from a partner-based point of view, but we have dom care providers as well. As of last month, we've done a more formal launch into the dom care sector. This is in large part because of our Lottie side. So on the Lottie marketplace side, we have the marketplace services 3 areas: care home, home care, and retirement villages. And the home care side has just exploded over the last the last 6 to 12 months. I think we now have north of 1,000 home care providers on the Lottie marketplace, and there was a clear demand for CRM on that side of the business. So we launched it around 2 months ago for home care. We've seen really good demand for it, especially on the inquiry side. We're still working with the providers on the occupancy side of how that works with dom care. But yes, is the answer, is that we do service dom care. And I think where it's really powerful, again, is that integration piece. So we integrate with homecare.co.uk, obviously with Lottie Marketplace, and other inquiry channels like your website as well, to ensure that the logging of inquiries across your branches happens automatically. So yeah, it's the start of our journey into dom care, and a really exciting one.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Amy, for your question. So before we hand over, where we're going to go into a little bit of a demonstration around our reports, I think they're your favourite reports, Nick, I've been told, from the Sona dashboard. What's next? So just for you then, Tom, you've given me a high level there about dom care. Is there anything else in the Lottie found world? Like, what's next for you guys in the next, say, 12, 24 months?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think the Lottie side, I think it's just to continue growing our care seeker traffic, continue growing the partner base. As of last month and this month has continued that trend. We actually get more organic visitors now than carehome.co.uk to our marketplace side, which is a big milestone for us. So it's continuing to grow that. Lottie was built with the care seeker in mind. If anyone's been on the Lottie website, you'll see the bright pink Lottie branding. It's really easy to use, and it's really designed to drive as many care seekers to providers as possible. On the Found side, our last sort of 3 to 6 months has been spent really optimizing our finance and billing module. I think I mentioned at the start, we have 3 key modules. It's the inquiries module, our occupancy module, which tracks residents and occupancy forecasting, and then also our finance and billing. Our big focus has been on the billing module itself. And looking ahead, our key work streams over the next couple of months are to massively improve and optimize on the reporting capabilities of Found. We want to introduce self-serve reporting and increase the number of reports we already surface. And then longer term vision is where we see Found grow into sort of have a marketing branch, a campaigns arm as well. So lots in the pipeline. But most importantly is helping as many providers as we can and growing the business on both the Lottie and the Found side.
Thanks, Tom. It's definitely keeping you busy. And over to you, Nick. What about Yorkshire Care Group? What's next in the land that you live in, but also in your digital transformation plans?
Well, our next, starting going through the process, in fact, it started yesterday, is really based on the CQC changes that are coming through. You know, we are still driven quite a lot by paper-based evidence in terms of the things that are good and bad within the organization. And so we're looking at systems that will give us that digitization so that Nourish speaks directly to it. So any ABCs or any incidents are not recorded on a separate system. They're actually interrelated in so that we can have one risk management system within the business, which is the area that we still have quite a manual-based process. So that's our next move. And hopefully that'll be implemented by the end of the year.
Brilliant. Keeping you busy also, Nick. Thank you. Okay, so just quickly, I don't think there's any more questions. So what we're going to do now is move on to Jana, where she's going to actually show the audience some staff turnover dashboards and shift fulfillments. There she is. That was seamless. But first, I just want to say thank you, Nick and Tom. I appreciate your time. I know everyone's really busy, but it's been really informative today, and we in Sona really appreciate it too. So Jana, over to you.
Hi.
Thank you.
I guess, thank you, Haley. Quick intro into who I am. I am the data team lead at Sona. I've been with Sona for just over 2 years now. And yeah, I've been asked to come and join this webinar to just show off a little bit the functionality, the dashboarding functionality in Sona, and how that can help you drive some insights and, you know, figure out a few things about your business and about how you're using Sona and how the staff are using Sona. So I'm going to share screen, share screen, and I'm going to share this window. Can I get a few nods that everyone can see Sona?
Yep, we've got the roster screen.
Perfect. Yeah. So this is where you land when you obviously get into Sona. You can then navigate down to this dashboards page, and this is a long list of reports that we are always adding to, always improving. I've picked 2 today because time is short, and I want to, show you them to the best of their abilities. I've picked one which is more roster and scheduling based, and one which is more HR and kind of people based. And we can, look into them and see what insights you can get from them. So the first one I want to look into is shift fulfillment. Obviously, this is our bread and butter at Sona, so we like to shout about it a lot. It is a dashboard that shows you how many shifts were picked up in the app versus assigned by manager, how many shifts are left unclaimed, how many shifts have been filled. The good thing about dashboards at Sona is that you can dynamically filter them by any period you may want. The default that's set here is the previous week. From experience, we found this is normally where you kind of care to look at. But if you have any specific requirements, you can put in 2 weeks, more weeks, 10 weeks, or even days, months, quarter, years, minutes. I don't think that would be a very insightful dashboard, but you also have the option to pick specific dates or relative dates, or, specific dates just means, you've selected those dates. I'm logged in as to this fake organization that we use for demos as someone that has lots of permissions in this fake organization. If you imagine you were someone that only manages maybe 1 or 2 homes, then this would automatically for you filter the dashboard down to maybe just Angel View Residential Care and Bridge Flat Supported Living. So you'd only see insights that are kind of relevant to you. But if you would, as a higher level manager, also like to see that, you can obviously filter the dashboard down to specific locations and, see that. So in terms of what we're showing here, we're showing breakdowns, and these are inspired by speaking to our customers and what they like to see and what they find insightful. You can see breakdowns of shifts by posted versus filled in the app, grouped by site, and grouped by shift type. If you only care for some reason for maybe night shifts, you can of course filter the dashboard down to shift type, select the ones you want, and the dashboard will filter. One cool thing I particularly like about this dashboard is you can change the aggregation level. So at the moment we're showing the dashboard, all of the numbers are in shifts. But if I change this here to hours, this will show me the equivalent insights, but obviously in hours. Yeah, I think that's kind of the best summary here. At the bottom, you have the raw data. Should you want to make your own the charts with this data, you can easily click here and download the results as a CSV or an Excel spreadsheet, etc. But yeah, you can obviously also filter down by a specific employee, specific fulfillment status, fulfillment allocation status, etc. Right. I'm gonna move over to the turnover dashboards. I've conveniently pre-opened these tabs. But obviously, this is how you would access these dashboards. So turnover. This is a aggregation dashboard concerning new starters, leavers, and the turnover metric. How many staff are you retaining? Are certain locations in your organization worse for turnover than others? Handy info box there if you kind of forget what that means. The default filter here is set to the latest complete month, but I think I will filter this dashboard to a longer period of time just for the purposes of this demo, because again, this is a demo organization and not many starters and leavers happen in a demo. So I'm going to filter to maybe we care from the beginning of the year to this to the end of this month. So the overview tab here shows you what your headcounts were and what your organization level turnover percent is. Again, as before, you can filter this by location, parent location, grandparent location, any org unit structure or like site structure that you have set up with Sona, filter down by specific pay rates, pay types, or termination reasons. But I think more interesting to dig down are the specific tabs. So new starters. Again, this just goes further down into the new starters for the selected period. An interesting feature here is the bad hires criteria, and we've found that every organization we speak to has a different definition for what bad hires is. A bad hire is 60 days seems to be one that people land on the most, but if your organization has a bad hire criteria of 30 days, then you can easily just input that and the dashboard will update, and all of a sudden we don't have any bad hires because we consider anyone that's left, between 0 and 30 days. The groupings here on the visualizations are also dynamic. So if you look at the dynamic parameter here, we can change this to say, let's maybe look at this breakdown by location. And we can update that and see that, Angelview Residential Care has 50% new starters. That's interesting. Why do they have so many new starters? Again, at the bottom, you always have the raw data detail in case you want to export this file, upload it anywhere you need, do any further analysis on it. And yeah, you can change the aggregation. Obviously, we've selected quite a long period. If we'd want to see this breakdown maybe weekly, you can update that, and then we see a different view of new starters. Similarly for leavers, you can do an analysis. Should you want to exclude those bad hires, you can exclude, include, show only, all very flexible. You've got some KPIs here, such as, the number of leavers, how the average length of service. I'd say that's okay. Potentially we'd want them to stay a bit longer. Again, a breakdown, that filter works similarly. And finally, a aggregation of turnover by location. So you can see if any particular sites or homes need more attention, or, maybe this is somewhere you would like to turn your attention to. Why are people starting and leaving in such quick progression? Yeah, so I think that's kind of the end of my section. In case there's any questions, I'm gonna count to 3 here. But if not, I think I need to hand over to Tom, who also has something to show you.
Thanks, Jana. Yeah, I don't have any presentation today, but what we will do is send some information post around Found and Lottie. But yeah, that was all really interesting stuff. Thanks for showing us that, Jana.
Perfect.
Thanks, Jana. And a quick one from me. I know the answer to this, but on the dashboards that you were just presenting, are they set as standard on the Sona platform? Or
yes. So during the implementation process, we have a bit of a discovery with the representatives from the organization, and then the implementation team very easily just ticks dashboards on and off, so that we embed the relevant dashboards per sector.
Amazing. Thank you, Jana.
Amazing. Thank you so much for everything today. I think this has been a super fruitful conversation. Thank you for all the comments and the questions in the chat, for taking the time and spending it with us today. As mentioned, we'll be sending over the recording, so keep an eye on your inbox. And yeah, thank you to all our lovely guests. Hope to see you for the next one.
Bye, everyone. Bye.
So,
Thanks.